The one shift that changes everything. Picture two men, same age, same street, both laid off from the same factory, the same month 3 years ago, same manila envelope of severance, same drive home with the radio off because neither of them could think of anything to say. Today, one of them still tells the layoff story like it happened this morning. Same words, same wounded pause, like he's been rehearsing it in the shower. The other one owns 2 food trucks and just handed his old supervisor a paycheck with his own signature on it. Nothing external explains that gap. Not luck, not talent, not who they knew. The only thing that was ever different between them happened in the 6 inches between their ears. And by the time you finish this, you'll know exactly what that difference is and exactly how to use it before you go to bed tonight. Here's the part nobody puts on a poster. Your life isn't shaped by your circumstances. It's shaped by what you decide your circumstances mean. That's not a mood. That's the whole mechanism. The one thing running underneath every other thing. Let's break it into pieces you can actually hold, because a big idea is worthless until you can use it before the sun goes down today. Stop negotiating with the weather. There will always be a winter, a recession, a slow season, a boss who can't see you, a market that won't cooperate. Most people respond to winter by folding their arms and waiting for someone to turn the heat back on. I'll get serious when things get easier. Things don't get easier, they get different. Another storm is always changing clothes on the other side of this one, getting ready to wear a new name. The wind doesn't check your resume before it blows. It hits the disciplined and the lazy with the same indifference. Nobody gets a calm life because they earned one. What separates people was never the weather they were handed. It's what they built while the rain was falling. One person uses the recession as a reason to shrink. Another uses it to read more, sharpen a skill, quietly rebuild the offer nobody asked them to rebuild, and comes out the other side heavier, not because the storm went easy on him, but because he refused to let it write his story for him. So stop asking life to soften. Start asking yourself to harden, not into someone bitter, into someone capable. Nobody you admire built something that lasted during a season that was convenient for them. They just got better at reading the wind. Change your language before you change your life. The words you say to yourself when no one's listening become the walls of your own house, and you lay those bricks one offhand sentence at a time, never once noticing you're building anything at all. I'm just not good with money. I've never been the disciplined type. Each one sounds harmless, like a joke at your own expense. But say it enough times and your mind stops filing it under opinion. It starts filing it under instructions. Your subconscious doesn't fact check you. It just tallies the votes. And most days you're the only one voting. Spend 5 years narrating your own excuses, and don't act shocked when your life quietly rearranges itself to match the narration. You weren't dealt a small hand. You talked yourself into folding a good one. Now flip it. Not, I'm not good with money. I'm getting sharper with money every month. Not, I've never been disciplined. I'm building discipline 1 rep at a time. You're not lying to yourself, and you're not demanding a miracle by Tuesday. You're describing a direction instead of a verdict. And that alone unlocks a door your old sentences have been quietly nailing shut for years. Successful people sound different long before they live different. The language moves first. The life just follows it home. Choose discipline over motivation. Almost everyone gets this backward. They think they're short on motivation, so they go looking for it. Another video, another quote, waiting on a rush of inspiration to arrive before they'll finally move. And it works. For a day, maybe a week. But motivation is a match, not a furnace. It burns out fast, usually right as the work turns boring and repetitive, which is exactly the moment most people quit, standing 3 feet from the door they were trying to open. Discipline doesn't ask how you're feeling this morning. It doesn't need a pep talk or a sunrise. It just shows up on the good days and the forgettable ones, indistinguishable from each other on a calendar. Anyone can push when they're inspired. That's the easy part. What separates people is what they do on the days they feel absolutely nothing. Motivation signs you up. Discipline is what's still lacing its shoes on the cold morning when no one would ever find out if you skipped it. Goals point you at a direction. Discipline is the one laying the road, one unremarkable brick after another, long after the goal stopped feeling exciting. Stop waiting to feel ready. Build the discipline to move without the feeling, and you'll notice something strange. The results show up long before the motivation ever bothers to. Invest in the hours nobody's grading you on. Most people spend 8 hours a day working to survive. Fair enough. Nobody's arguing with that. But here's the question that actually splits people over 10 years. What happens in the hours after that? The commute, the lunch break, the quiet 20 minutes before bed when the phone is already vibrating for your attention. Are you feeding your mind or just letting it idle in neutral, swallowing whatever's easiest? Those small unpaid hours, the ones that never once show up on a paycheck, are exactly where a different future gets assembled, quietly, off the clock, where no one's checking your work. Read something that pushes back. Listen to people who've already walked the road you keep circling. Study your own mistakes instead of shoving them in a drawer. None of it is complicated, and none of it requires anyone's permission. The moment you stop outsourcing your own growth, you stop living at the mercy of other people's priorities for your life. You become the one steering. And that shift, small and completely unglamorous, is where every real transformation actually starts, far away from any applause. Watch who you're becoming an average of. Whether you notice it or not, you're slowly turning into an average of the 5 people closest to you. Not because you're weak, because that's just how people are wired. You absorb the temperature of whatever room you keep standing in without a single word being said out loud. If the people around you are comfortable complaining, you'll get comfortable complaining too. Because everyone nods along, and agreement feels a lot like being right. They're not bad people. It's just that their ceiling quietly becomes your ceiling if you stand under it long enough. Now flip it. Stand near people who are building, reading, stretching, people who talk about what's possible instead of who's to blame. And you'll catch that the same way you'd catch anything contagious. Their standards become your standards before you even notice you adopted them. So take an honest look at your circle. Not to judge anyone, just to ask, if I become exactly like the 5 people I spend the most time with, am I actually happy with that outcome? If the question makes you flinch, that flinch is data. It might be the most important adjustment you make all year. Start before you're ready. If you're waiting for confidence to show up first, you'll wait out the rest of your life in the lobby. Most people have the order backward. They think confidence arrives, and then action follows it through the door. That day doesn't come. Confidence was never sitting on your porch waiting to be let in. Confidence is manufactured, and it's only manufactured by doing the thing. Think about the first time you did anything that actually mattered. Drove a car, spoke in a room that could judge you, asked for the raise. Were you confident beforehand? Almost never. You were nervous, a little sick to your stomach, hands doing something they don't usually do. But you did it anyway, and something happened on the other side that could not have happened any other way. That's where confidence actually comes from, not from feeling ready, from evidence. And evidence only comes from doing. This is why so many good ideas quietly die in people's heads, waiting on a feeling that action was always meant to produce, not proceed. When I feel ready, I'll start readiness is fear, wearing a blazer and calling itself wisdom. Nobody you admire felt fully ready, not one of them. They moved while the fear was still in the room and let it catch up somewhere down the road, out of breath, no longer in charge. So stop auditioning for your own life. Take the step while your hands are still shaking. Send the message before you've rehearsed it into something safe. That first uncomfortable step is the only thing that has ever actually built confidence in anyone, ever. So there it is. Not 6 ideas, one truth, wearing 6 different faces. Stop negotiating with the weather. The storm was never your enemy. It was your training ground. Watch your language. The words you whisper in private become the walls or the doors of everything that comes next. Choose discipline over motivation. Motivation is a match. Discipline is the furnace that actually keeps the house warm. Spend the hours nobody's grading you on because nobody is coming to hand you a better life. Choose your circle on purpose. You will not rise higher than the ceiling of the people standing closest to you. And start before you're ready. Because confidence was never the price of admission. It was always the reward waiting on the other side. Go back to those 2 men from the factory. Same layoff, same Tuesday, same empty calendar, staring back at both of them the next morning. One of them spent that calendar explaining why it happened to him. The other spent it building something on top of it. That's the entire distance between 2 lives, and it starts closing the second you decide to close it. None of this asks you to be smarter, luckier, or born into better circumstances than the person standing next to you. It only asks you to think differently, starting today, in this ordinary moment that feels like nothing special. Transformation doesn't arrive with fireworks. It shows up quiet on an unremarkable Tuesday, the moment you decide to see your life differently than you saw it yesterday morning. You don't need new circumstances. You don't need permission. And you don't need perfect timing. You need a new mind, because the mind that got you here will not be the mind that gets you there. Don't wait for life to change before you change your mind. Change your mind first. Then stand back and watch everything else scramble to catch up.